Donald Trump was publicly humiliated yesterday by his own damn party when anonymous Republicans leaked bombshell details of a private meeting with Trump, revealing that Trump has no damn clue what's in the one big beautiful bill. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, this is particularly humiliating, especially when you consider the source. All right, we're going to look at the excerpt, we're going to look at the article, but first, I want you to consider the source itself. As economist Brandon Duke notes, this was leaked by GOP members of Congress, GOP congressional staff, Trump White House staff, or some combination of the three. And the key excerpt is this. But Trump still doesn't seem to have a firm grasp about what his signature legislative achievement does. According to three sources with direct knowledge of the comments, Trump told Republicans at this meeting that there are three things Congress shouldn't touch if they want to win elections: Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. Quote, "But we are touching Medicaid in this bill," one member responded to Trump, according to the three sources. The White House didn't respond to a request for comment. That is humiliating, okay? So here's the full article. The reconciliation timeline is slipping as Trump struggles to flip votes. Trump told one group of House Republicans Wednesday that Congress shouldn't touch three things if they want to win elections: Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. Now, I should also say, just to contextualize this, that this was yesterday. At the time of this recording, House Democrats are unfortunately merely delaying the inevitable. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has been talking for about 8 hours now. He's using his what's called the magic moment or magic minute, where he can effectively filibust with his speech, right? But he has to talk nonstop. He's been doing it for 7 or 8 hours, a Herculean effort. But according to most whip counts, he's merely delaying the inevitable. And once he eventually stops talking, this thing will almost certainly pass the House, barring any sort of surprise. So keep that in mind. But it was a struggle. I will also say it was a struggle for the last 24 hours for Republicans to flip the votes necessary. That's why they kept this thing going on all throughout the night. It was hard fought for them. After House Republican leaders insisted they were charging full steam ahead to advance the Senate-passed reconciliation bill, floor action slowed to a halt Wednesday, with Speaker Mike Johnson and Donald Trump struggling to win over holdouts to even put the bill on the floor. Leadership scheduled a procedural vote to advance the bill Wednesday afternoon, but after some members couldn't get to the Capitol over travel delays, and some other Republicans appeared committing to voting down the reconciliation bill, Republicans left the House floor with no clear plan. After leaving two previous votes open for over 2 hours, lawmakers headed back to their offices a little after 3 p.m. Majority Leader Steve Scalise told reporters he was waiting on a few straggling Republican lawmakers to return to the Capitol building, quote, within the next hour, to bring lawmakers back to the floor. But Scalise seemed to acknowledge flight delays may not be the only hangup. Quote, "There have been different ongoing conversations with the Freedom Caucus," and he said, and other members too. Republicans had taken about an hour to wrap up the first vote of the series, which was a procedural motion to, quote, order the previous question. That vote was supposed to take 15 minutes, but the second vote, an amendment to the rule setting up the debate for the reconciliation bill that was supposed to be 5 minutes, stalled out at 2:11 to 2:12, with a number of Republicans still to vote more than an hour after the vote started. So 5 minutes, more than an hour. While Republican leaders could have found some of their members to vote for the amendment and push it over the line, there was no use. They'd only be heading to more delays and more trouble, namely a rule vote that may go down to the floor. There are two GOP factions who seem unconvinced by the reconciliation bill: moderates and conservatives. The moderates are concerned with Medicaid cuts to the bill, which now exceed $1 trillion after the Senate's changes. But leaders seem to think they're making progress with those members. This is the key part. Trump hosted a meeting with some moderates and some members of the Main Street Caucus on Wednesday, where he listened to concerns and touted the wins in the legislation. Two sources told Note Us, or Not Us. But Trump doesn't seem to have a firm grasp about what his signature legislation does. According to three sources with direct knowledge of the comments, Trump told Republicans at this meeting that there are three things Congress shouldn't touch if they want to win elections: Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. And again, the key part, quote, "But we are touching Medicaid in this bill," one member responded to Trump, according to three sources. Asked for comment, White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson told Not Us that Trump's reconciliation bill, quote, "takes decisive action to protect Medicaid for generations to come by eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse in the program. Trump is committed to protecting Medicaid for vulnerable Americans who rely on it the most." But of course, that contradicts all of the nonpartisan analysis about this, okay? And I want to remind you of where we are with that. And we'll go to Washington Post, what the GOP's tax bill means for your health care. Legislation passed by the Senate on Tuesday could affect how people sign up for Medicaid and insurance marketplaces and where they can get care. If you're among the 78 million people on Medicaid or the 24 million with a health care plan from the insurance marketplaces, changes to how you qualify for and enroll in coverage and what medical providers are available to you could be on the way. Republicans are looking to squeeze savings from these two major programs that provide many lower income and disabled Americans with health coverage as they hustle to pass a huge tax cut extending legislative package Trump has demanded before July 4th. The bill narrowly passed by the Senate on Tuesday and is now headed back to the House, which approved a different version of the bill in May for final passage. To help pay for the measure, Republicans have proposed changes estimated to cut more than $1 trillion from Medicaid, Medicare, and the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, with the bulk of the cuts coming from Medicaid. This is the key part. Those provisions will lead to at least 17 million people losing their health insurance over the next decade, according to estimates from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. A number of Republicans have expressed concerns about cutting too deeply into health care programs, but several senators who voiced doubts about the Medicaid provisions ended up supporting the bill. Okay? So, folks, that's huge. 17 million Americans in a decade losing their Medicaid coverage because of the various cuts and procedural challenges to Medicaid as a consequence directly of this bill. Let's go into more details. If you get health coverage through Medicaid, Republicans have proposed several changes for people at or just above the poverty line. This group of people, whose income is between 100% and 138% of the federal poverty level, so roughly $32,000 to $44,000 for a family of four, are known as expansion enrollees, since the 2010 healthcare law expanded Medicaid to include them. Right now, states verify that these individuals are eligible for coverage just once a year, typically around the end of the year during enrollment season. The GOP's House and Senate bills would require states to do an extra eligibility check every 6 months, starting in 2027. That could open the door for people losing coverage mid-year. And the GOP measures could open a second door to otherwise eligible people being kicked off coverage. They call for a big new requirement. Adults under age 65 in this expansion group must work, volunteer, or go to school at least 80 hours a month. States would also have to verify this twice a year, potentially requiring enrollees to submit paperwork again. Quote, "That's going to be disruptive to individuals," said Jay Lundlam, Deputy Secretary for North Carolina's Medicaid program. That's my state. Quote, "It's going to create a lot of red tape." Republicans say work requirements will ensure able-bodied adults who can work are working. But most people with that level of income are, by definition, already working, according to the nonpartisan health policy organization KFF. So coverage losses would be mostly among eligible people failing to submit sufficient documentation, health policy experts say. This bill includes exemptions for certain groups of people, including pregnant women, people who are disabled, and parents with dependent children who are 13 years or younger. But even those who qualify for exemptions will have to submit paperwork proving that they do not have to abide by the work requirements, which in turn could cause people to lose coverage. This is what happens. It's death by 1,000 cuts. This is bureaucratic red tape designed to ensnare and stop people, right? And I'm sorry, that's incredibly gross. You could say, well, that's not just a blanket block if you just do what it's asked of you. But the whole point is to make it incredibly inconvenient and incredibly challenging to do so, requiring stable internet, maybe fast internet, maybe technology that you don't have at your disposal, maybe having documents that you don't have at your disposal, maybe making phone calls to various groups, agencies, organizations that won't answer the phone. Maybe you have to go wait. Maybe we know how this works. Most of us who are under age 65 know how this works, how hella inconvenient it is, truly, potentially prohibitively inconvenient or prohibitively unmanageable for people. And you want to impose this on the poorest and most eligible for this crucial social safety net? It is cruel. It is unnecessary. And I'm sorry, the savings extractions that we might be able to squeeze out of Medicaid don't justify this. I mean, a $1 trillion blanket cut to Medicaid effectively, they need to do their math. Show us where there is $1 trillion worth of waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid. They don't have any evidence to support that. None. They are just assuming, well, there's got to be. There's got to not only got to be waste, fraud, and abuse, but there's got to be hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars worth of waste, fraud, and abuse. It's insane. Again, it would be like tending to a garden, knowing that there are probably some weeds in your garden somewhere, and just taking a hatchet, and I'm going to cut 20% of it. I'm just going to start swinging at 20% of my garden. How about you go pull the specific weeds? How about you be surgical? How about you be precise instead of just taking a machete to things? That's not how Republicans want to do this. So that is why in that bombshell leak we got from Republicans, again, it was Republicans who leaked this. As Brendan Duke notes, this was leaked by GOP members of Congress, GOP congressional staff, White House staff, or some combination of the three, and why they were so slow to provide comment. This bombshell leak, Trump doesn't know what the hell is in this bill. He doesn't seem to particularly care. Otherwise, he would stop. He'd be like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want to cut Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. What the hell are you guys doing? He's incredibly stupid and incredibly indifferent, and that is a dangerous combination. But this, according to the consensus of nonpartisan analyses from both tax and budget centers and also healthcare policy experts as well, like KFF, this is going to seriously impact Medicaid recipients, not just in blue states, but red states, Trump supporting red states. And again, could conceivably kick at least 17 million people off Medicaid who are otherwise eligible. That is staggering, and more attention needs to be drawn to it, even as, again, as we speak, that bill is inching closer and closer and closer to passage. It almost certainly will become law. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.